AI can hallucinate, and if you don't have any checks and balances in place, you can start getting poison pills. You can start going in and you can start making decisions off of AI points which you don't really understand. And then when you try to go back and make sense of it, it just made something up. The more data that you feed it, the more you have to fine tune it because the more likely it can go and just break. Okay? These are not perfect.
Looking like a baddie, I show up and make them stop. Wanna know my name so badly, cause I run this whole block. Flip my hair, move my head, show the world I'm royalty. When I walk by, they be taking bows, cause they know I'm the queen, yeah.
Welcome to the Using Automation and AI for Experimentation talk here at the Experimentation. Hopefully you're having a good day. You're enjoying some stuff from all these amazing talks. And let me throw my hat into the ring. Let's talk about AI and automation and experimentation. So, who am I? My name is Shawn David. I'm the founder and lead instructor of Automate to Win. We are a certification company who will teach you how to get rid of the busy work in your life. We use everything from GPT to Claude to BERT and Llama, and we go through prompt engineering and workflow automation, everything that you need to really help you get rid of all the things in the world that you don't want to do. That being said, a little bit more about me. I have a BS in computer science and systems engineering, and I have an MBA in organizational leadership. I have a bunch of certifications and names out, after my name. I've built a lot of experimentation programs out there for a lot of heavy-hitting people. So I've been doing this for a while. I know specifically the problems that you guys have as experimentation CRO people. I've built out solutions that can help you. And hopefully throughout this talk, you can learn what they are. Now, more importantly, married to my wife for a long time, been together for 20 years. We live in Texas with our 10 cats, 2 dogs, and 14 fish. So as you can see, you have Sam, Olive, Madeline, Chicky, Betty, Victoria, and Phoebe, unavailable for this picture with Ellen, Jasper, and Fiona. So what we're going to talk about today, okay? We're going to be introducing you to AI, what it is, what you need to know about it. Introduction to automation. What is automation in context of what you guys need it for? And we're going to talk about AI, automation, and CRO, how they interact with each other, what you can do with it, and how you can utilize the tools that you have to make your lives easier. We're going to look at a real world case study and an example of a tool that I built that has really helped out agencies in the past. We're going to look at the challenges and solutions that you're going to have with AI. So it's not just lollipops and rainbows. You're going to have some issues when you move forward and you try automating things. You're going to have pushback, you're going to have problems. So kind of look at that, and we're going to see what solutions that you can have to try to mitigate these problems before you run into them. Then we're just going to go over, what we went over, what we talked about, how you get in touch with me, and I'm going to share you what I built for you. So let's just jump into it, okay? So we're going to define AI here. What is AI? It's basically just a system that emulates human intelligence. So there's levels to this, though. So right now, what we have is we have what's known as narrow AI. So if you think about Siri, if you think about Alexa, if you think about GPT, if you think about the AI algorithm that runs for Amazon, that sends you packages, Netflix, Amazon, all the algorithms in the world, Google, all of it. Those are narrow AIs. Those are very specific things. And if you give them a task to do it, they're going to do it better than humans. But for instance, let's say we built a narrow AI that was the absolute best novel writer that ever created. It created the best novels ever. But then you asked it to create an architectural diagram, or you asked it to bake a cake. That AI is just not going to be able to do that. It's not going to be able to translate what it learned and what you've taught it into anything else. It's very narrow and the scope is very specific. It's the safest and most utilized AI that we have. Then you get into general AI, which is what basically is a Jarvis type situation. If you don't know what that is, in Marvel, Iron Man is a suit, and within that suit is an AI, and that AI can do everything from plot a course to, for a parabolic flight to the moon, to build nanites, everything you could ever imagine, right? It's just anything that you throw at it, it can learn and interact with, and it can build immediately. So any novel systems that you interact with, anything that you've ever built, you throw it, it will learn. It can actually modify itself to build. We don't have that yet. That's like the next thing that we would have. That would be like the general assistant, general AI. I'm trying to get into that right now. I'm building my own, but that doesn't really affect us for the next 5 years. Probably we're not going to have anything even close to general AI. We'll just have stacking large language models or stacking narrow AIs that seem to be like general AI, but that's really the path, right? The path is going to be having very specific tools that then hand off whatever it is they're building to other specific tools. So if you have a novel that is being written and you want to create a TV show, you would take that novel and then you would send it to the specific AI that would then create a screenplay. And then that screenplay would then send that into an anime. Like you would build out very specific tools for each individual path that you would need to go on. And then you would then change the output for the input of the next system. With a general AI, you wouldn't need to do that. You would just say, hey, create me a TV show. And then it would be able to create agents within itself. And it would go and it would come back and it would actually build the animation. It would do the whole thing. It would come back with a TV. Now, super AI, that's the singularity. That's the movie Deus Machina. That's the movies Terminator, 1, 2, 3, 5, 12. That is the thing that has everyone in the AI world kind of worried. Creating a super AI is something that we would not be able to control. It would be something that we wouldn't even be able to understand. It would be such an order of magnitude above us. Like there's just nothing that we would be able to do. So like once we hit that switch, we wouldn't be able to turn it off because we wouldn't even understand. So we're nowhere near that. And there's a lot of guardrails that are put in place for that to not happen. But hey, you never know. So generally, AI literally just is computers mimicking human intelligence and human behavior. So that's all you really need to know. It's super geeky about how it actually works, but for the purposes of CRO and experimentation, just know that AI is mimicking humans for what you need. Okay. And then now we come into automation. And now, what is automation? Now, it's different than AI because it's using tools to mimic task behavior. So it's not just mimicking the way that humans think, it's also interacting. So it's taking the step a bit further and it's saying you no longer have to do the thing that you were doing before. So AI is taking away the ability or the reasoning that you have. Like it's taking away the necessity for you to have the actual like ideated thought. Artificial intelligence allows you to just relegate those thoughts that you don't need to have to that system. So if it's a system that's thinking about, calculations or analysis and things that are just rote that you don't need to do, then it can mimic the contextual behavior of a human. That intelligence then can start using what we're defining as automation. Automation is actually taking things and doing something. So AI is always involved in automation. Okay, there's no way around that. Like automation is just taking that artificial intelligence that's mimicking a human's intelligence and then telling it to do something. So we're saying, okay, you can think the same way we can. You can see a picture of 1,000 cats and you can discern what a cat is. Okay, great. Now let's create images of cats, right? So now we're going into the automated version of AI. So now we're building on this level of quote unquote intelligence, these narrow AIs, and we're having it do stuff. So what does that mean for you in the world of CRO? You can do things like test creation, audience segmentation, data collection, real-time analysis of data, statistical analysis of website users, and real-time analysis of website users. Like automation can do anything that you could do on a small scale manually on a massive scale. And it also has the ability to remove the busy work that you have to do to make sure that you can have time to do the creative work, right? So one of the biggest things and one of the actual benefits of using AI and automation in CRO is freeing you up to do the strategy work and to do the high level thought that you really need to do to be able to benefit your customer and your client. If all your time is spent sending emails and creating slide decks and manipulating data in sheets, you don't really have the time to spend thinking about long-term strategy or doing creative work or anything like that. So all of these things here, they're basically busy work removal. And that's really what I specialize in, is getting rid of the admin work that you just don't want to have to do, but you have to get done in order to make your client understand what it is you do. Okay. So when you're in CRO and you're in experimentation, you don't really have a tangible. What you're doing is you're helping your client either mitigate risk or you're helping them make better movements with the money that they have. So at that time, you only have the future benefit to be able to sell. So it's a trust behavior. And if you don't have any receipts whatsoever, that trust bubble, it's difficult to keep going. So these things like automation and using AI, it can help you build receipts so that you don't have to spend all the time manipulating data, right? So when CRO, AI, and automation intersect, right, what can we do? You can use AI to just analyze a vast amount of data that you just could not do or you would not want to do as a human, right? So you can use things like pinecone vectoring. And if you don't know what that is, come automate to win and take the course, get certified. You can learn all this stuff, right? But you can vectorize any of the data that you're sending in. And vectorizing means it's a contextual engine. So basically, not to get too geeky on it, but you do things with natural language processing that allows you to build context. Okay. So let's say for an easy example, we want to talk about jaguars, okay? But we don't want to talk about the cat. We want to talk about the car. If you just sent in the prompt to Jaguar to GPT or another AI, and you said, "Tell me about these jaguars and analyze this jaguar data," it has to go through and build the context and say, "Are you talking about Jaguar the cat, or Jaguar the car?" So what you do beforehand is you use AI and natural language processing to build out these vector databases, which are contextual databases about your actual large language or large data sets. So let's say you have 1 billion inputs, right, of 10 years of data. You're not going to be able to send that into a large language model and get anything back from that. It's too big. So what you have to do is you run through processes of natural language processes, and you build vector databases, which are then actual just contextual databases. So all the data that you're going to be sending in there is not actual like one to one. It's 1 to 1,000 or it's 1 to 1 million, depending on how you vectorize this. So you go in and you build, okay, go ahead and build me lookalikes. And from that lookalike, tell me the content within that. So you don't have the actual AI build you anything like a lookalike. For instance, if you're trying to run that, what you would do is you would use natural language processing in Python and JavaScript to run down, and then you bring that into vectors, and then you send the vectors into large language. I know this is confusing and it doesn't really maybe make sense to you, but at a high level, you can use AI to drive massive level of data analysis and give you back like segmentation and things like that that you would not be able to do manually. Just you just wouldn't have the time to do it. So automated A/B testing. So you can actually build out your automated A/B testing. You can build out code bases. You can just say, I have a hypo and I want to build it on the homepage. And you can have a code base that then goes and says, these are the versions of your homepage that you can swap. And then it goes and then swaps that builder out. So like if you're using, whatever builder you have, WooCommerce, anything like that, you can actually just have rows and then those rows are swapped out. So if you have like a blade or a row and it says, hey, we want to swap out this video with this image, you can just do that automatically using AI and automations. Like Convert and all of these tools have APIs that you can push automatically. You can just do that from like Airtable or from Google Sheets or anything like that. You never have to actually build out anything if you have your developers build a code base that says, this is how we swap an image, this is how we swap a content base, this is how we do that, that. You can just say, okay, here's the new content, here's the new image, swap it, and then boom, your A/B test is built. Not really good for like complex A/B tests like ABN and stuff, but for regular A/B tests, you can get these done, bring your velocity up super high because you don't really have to build out from the initial build, right? So you can use AI for predictive modeling, right? So all this stuff that people say, hey, uh, what are the product recommendations that people are going to cross sell, upsell? What are the things that we're going to be able to do to like interstitially show products to certain types of segmentation of people? If they take this path, then that means that they're more than likely to go here. One of the biggest things I learned working with like a bicycle manufacturer and clothing manufacturer is that gloves wear out faster than your butt pad. So for every butt pad that you buy, you're going to need 2 pair of gloves, so that gloves are going to be a cross sell. Gloves are the things that always sell out and the things that you just want to cross sell. AI could be there and be like, hey, it's been this much time since you bought a pair of gloves. They're going to wear out soon. Do you want to add these? Like AI is definitely something you can use for that. And then personalization, obviously, there's so many AI personalization, snake oil tools out there. Real level AI personalization would be server level, and it would mean that your website doesn't exist and that every single person that visits your website would have a different version of it. Um, AI and personalization right now would be like product recommendations on Amazon, movie recommendations on Netflix, that type of thing. Like that's definitely possible. But like changing the website based upon the user on the quote unquote AI, we're too far away from that right now, and you would need generative anyways. So I don't think that's you're gonna find out most of these tools are snake oil. Um, Now, real time adjustments is something that you definitely can do. You can determine the next path by where they're at, right? So you can watch like scroll depth. You can watch if they watch the video or not. You can do interactions on the page, and then you change the images of the next page, or you can even change the actual redirects of the next page based upon what they're doing on the page themselves. So you watch the user and you say, okay, if they're on a scroll depth of 75%, they're more than likely still in their discovery phase. So the next page is going to be a further discovery page. If they click on something above the fold, then they're in product page. Get rid of that discovery page and go directly to the product page. That can all be pathed out using AI. That can all be pathed out pretty easily in a lot of like Webflow and Drupal. All of these can be built. Okay. So let's look at a case study. Now, what is this? I used to work in an agency, and that agency, when I started, they were working on Google Slides and Google Sheets, and they were doing a lot of copy and pasting, and they were doing a lot of admin work, and there was no task management, there was no task connection to the data layer. The data layer was not put together across all clients. Everything was a mess. So what we did is we went and built a system that allowed them to get rid of all the busy work. And that system is a system that I actually built and recreated using Google Sheets, and that I'm giving to you at the end of this. So stick around, and at the end you'll be able to get it. Now, what is this? Now, we allowed experiment ideation form. That ideation form came from Airtable. So what happened is, instead of going through and having to enter in all this information into a Google sheet and then copy that from a Google sheet and bring that into a Google slide and reformat all the data that you just entered, move images around and take hours and hours creating all of this stuff. What we did is we created an Airtable form that had simply yes or no questions. From that Airtable form, it prioritized it. So it uses the PXL, and it just asks a bunch of no questions. If you're familiar with the PXL, you know what that is. It's about the fold, yes or no. If it is it seen within 5 seconds, down the line. All right. It's a 0 through 20 scale, and you get back the number at the end of it. From there, you allow it to create the relevant assets for the experiment. So what you do is you go and you say, okay, here's all the information, and then you Zapier and did a no code solution and linked it all up. And we said, okay, here is the Airtable form that we have. Here's the relevant information that we need. Here is the Google slide template that is now changed, and it is now branded out to the client. So what you can do is then say, all right, when you fill out this and you check this checkbox, send this information into Google Slides and create a templated slide for this data. So no more creating a Google slide from Google Sheets or anything like that. No copying and pasting, no reformatting data, no typing, no nothing. You enter it into the form, or the better yet, the client enters into the form. You go through, make sure everything is good. You click the checkbox, boom. Now you have a Google slide that you can then go back and forth with the client. You have a presentation layer built off the data layer. Okay. From that, it also distributes into tasks. Okay. So in this particular instance, it was ClickUp. So you go in there and it says, um, in that client, okay, a new experimentation asset was created. Here is the thing that you have to do. Put it to design, development, QA, all these things with waterfall automations, Gantt charts, everything that you need to build this experiment is automatically created and assigned to the relevant people. Okay. When that task is then grabbed and set into the status by the designer or by the developer or by the PM or whoever is doing it, that automatically updates the data layer that was then sent that data in. So Airtable is now updated from ClickUp and it says, all right, cool, the status is now awaiting design. From that, you have stakeholder updating, which is automated. Okay, so what does that mean? That says, okay, when this status goes from awaiting design to design, let's let the client know that hey, it's being designed. When it goes from awaiting design to awaiting approval, let's send the client an approval form so that way there's zero downtime so that they just click the button, they go to a form, they look at the design, they approve it or they disapprove it. If they disprove it, it goes back into Airtable, then back into the task management system, and then goes back to awaiting approval. And then the designer can go do the work, restart that process, that loop until it's ready. And then again, that status then goes to maybe awaiting development, boom, 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 down the line. So you have receipts of everything that's happened down the line. Okay. So remember, in CRO, you don't really have tangibles. So these are the things that you need to have the receipts. So if you tell the client, hey, I'm going to do 5 tests a month or 4 tests a month, and you build 5 and you launch 3, this way you have the receipts for the client to be like, hey, we built 5 and launched 3, but it's because you didn't approve this. So you have to have the automated stakeholder updating in all of your systems for CRO and experimentation, because that's your receipts. That allows you to go back in time to the client and say, hey, remember, you were here and you were involved in all of this, and here's all of the communication that we've done, and you don't have to send those emails, you don't have to do any of this stuff because the system does it for it. Okay, so you know what is the good part about this? You can look at data, you can analyze real time, you can personalize, you can create assets, you can go through and you can remove all the busy work from admin work so you can keep yourself in the stratosphere, you can do all these great things. Now, what are some of the problems? Now, AI can hallucinate, and if you don't have any checks and balances in place, you can start getting poison pills. You can start going in and you can start making decisions off of AI points, which you don't really understand. And then when you try to go back and make sense of it, it just made something up. The more data that you feed it, the more you have to fine tune it, because the more likely it can go and just break. Okay? These are not perfect.
This is Romo Santiago from Experimentation. Every week we share interviews with and conference sessions by our favorite conversion rate optimizers from around the world. So if you like this video, smash that like button and consider subscribing. It helps us a bunch. Now back to the episode.
So as you train things, you have to make sure, because don't forget, the larger the get, the more context you have to build. So when you start getting in the millions and billions and you start doing vectorizing and nearest neighbor stuff, natural language processing, you have to make sure that that step is perfect, because if it's not, everything that you do from that, all the business decisions that you make are going to be burned. So you have to understand what you're looking at. And if you're getting into really large language, make sure you have a data scientist that you trust, or you've built something that has guardrails so that way you can actually start verifying and the AI tells you why it's doing what it's doing. So if you don't have those guardrails in place, be very careful. It's very easy to just get out of bounds and out of pocket. And it only takes like a 2-degree change over time when you start doing heavy level business decisions, where over time that thing gets out of control. So be careful of that. One of the other big things is AI is complex, man. It's not easy. Like, I've been doing this for 20 years. I can slide into anywhere and understand the problems after asking the right questions, but building the systems is going to take years. So don't think you're going to go in and build a system to save somebody from drowning in 6 months or 8 months. It's just not going to happen. Like, you're not going to be able to go in and actually solve this. It's just not going to happen quickly. It takes time and expertise, and you have to understand the problems, and you need to talk to the people, and you have change management. There's a lot of stuff that happens here, but it's an amazing transformation if you can do it. But don't go in and think that it's an easy thing to do. It's not. Okay. one of the biggest things that I do is making sure that you don't lose the human aspect of your business, because that's what makes your business critically good. That's what makes your business different than the next guy. So yeah, automate all the processes that you don't need. Automate away all of the garbage that you don't want to do. Automate every single process that doesn't need a human to touch it. But things like creativity, things like outreach, things like talking to customers, things like social media posting and outreach and inbound reaching, like chatbots and stuff like that. I never want an AI doing that if it's me, because that removes the human element and that removes the reason why you're trying to solve the problem in the first place. If you're trying to get yourself out of dealing with any other humans, then you really got to look at what you're doing with your business. If you're in experimentation and CRO just to make money, there's easier ways to make money. Like, just figure that out. If you're in experimentation and CRO to help people, then don't automate everything away, because you're not helping anyone. All you're doing is you're just doing the motions and you're just getting outputs from inputs. Like, you're not really doing anything to help. So my personal opinion, don't lose the human touch. Make sure it's there. Keep empathy. Keep the human connection, because that's really what you're selling, is a better version of that human. All right. Also ethics, man, privacy concerns. Like, selling something like it's you doing it and having an AI do it is different. Now, if you're selling the AI doing it, that's one thing. And if they're buying apples and you're selling apples, cool. But if they're buying oranges and you're selling apples and you're having AI do it and you're not telling them that the AI is doing it, and they're buying your expertise, and your expertise is how to prompt the AI, and they're not buying that, I think that's disingenuous. And I'm not saying that the outcome is going to be any less, maybe even better, but you're not selling apples and they're buying apples. So, like, be ethical. Like, tell them what you're doing. And if they don't like that, that's fine. There's plenty of people that are going to buy that. And, you're creating something. So I just think in this situation, like, if you're using AI, you got to tell people 100%, right? AI integration is costly. All right. Running automations and scripts can get money heavy. I have a good friend of mine who was using Webflow, and he had a friend of his using Webflow, and they were connecting into some high level APIs. And then all of a sudden they got put into Webflow Enterprise because they hit their rate limits. All of a sudden they got a bill for 60 grand. And they're like, hey, what? Be careful, because you read the fine print and they're like, hey, over this much, you're going to get either rate limited or we're going to hit you with that enterprise level, because, servers are expensive. So if you don't know how much it's going to cost, if you start running production and you're just testing API calls, careful. For instance, let's say you want to create Dolly images and you're just testing out, and you just bought Gaia from me and you're like, hey, I'm going to train my Dolly. That's fine. You go get your API. Now it's 25 cents an image to train. If you're just monkeying around and you don't know what you're doing, you're not actually creating any social media content that you want to edit, and you're just training things, 25 cents a rip. You do it 1,000 times, you're spending money, right? So understand the costs that you're doing. So what did we learn? We learned what you can use AI and automation for. Hopefully you looked at this and you said, I can understand what I can use automation for. If you don't understand any of these things still, come take the free courses at Automate to Win. There's a bunch of stuff there that can help you understand what we're talking about. If you don't get what I mean when I say automate your assets, I'm going to show you that to you right now. Find me on LinkedIn. So this is your present, okay? automatetowin.com/A/B testing system. This is a fully built out automated testing system that allows you to enter in your ideas and get out an asset created in Google Docs, right? So what you're going to be able to do here is you're going to be able to go and you're going to be able to create a copy of this zip file. So create a zip file, or just create a copy of this entire folder, whatever you want to do. But once you do that, you're going to get this form. Now, this form is a 6-part form. It's going to allow you to go with my prioritization model. It's not the PXL, it's mine. It will go and it will allow you to build out a prioritization system. Now it's going to go in here, and you're going to be able to go here, and you're going to change the status of things. When you change the status of things, okay, it's going to allow you to come in here, and it's going to allow you to create a test document. Okay, that test document is going to, it's a Google Doc, and that Google Doc is just a basic template. So what that template is it allows you to see all the things. So what'll happen here is it'll come in, it'll fill out all of these datas. So you come in here and it'll say what devices, page, assets, all of this stuff. It's already built into the system for you. If you need this to be edited or you want me to build it for you, hit me up. But you can just look at the code and build it yourself, or use Zapier for this. But this is a general proof of concept of what you'll get. So again, automatethewin.com/A/B testing system, make a copy and run through. So what you'll be able to do at that point is you'll come in here, you just do fill this out, and then you come in, create test document. It'll create a test document and it'll fill out all the variables for you. And then what you can do is you can generate feedback based upon your hypo and your problem statement. Okay. So you're going to come in here and from your hypo and your problem statement that you just entered in that form, you can run an AI function that generates feedback. And that feedback is going to come in and it's going to rewrite your hypo and your problem statement using AI. So it's going to come in, it's going to tie your problem statement and your hypo together. So if you didn't create a good enough hypothesis as far as the AI is concerned, it's going to come back and it's going to say, hey, like tie these things in together. Okay. So you can just type in your hypo or your problem statement, and then you can come in here and you can just generate feedback. So if you want to see how this is all built, you can just come into the app script here and you can see all of the scripts here. This is included in what you're doing. And then this is going to come in and it's going to do all of the find replace. It's going to do the OpenAI completions. Now you're going to have to add your OpenAI key here when you get this. That's one thing that you definitely have to do because every single person needs their own AI key. You don't want me seeing all of your data that you're going to throw through here. So just go to OpenAI. It's like $8. Throw your API key in here, and then this whole thing will work. Okay. So use automation and AI to get rid of busy work to make your experimentation and CRO programs better. Use automation and AI to make the busy work go away. Use it to get rid of rote and monotonous manual tasks that you don't want to do in your CRO and your experimentation programs. Okay. There is unlimited things that you can do to get rid of the busy work in your CRO, like email filtering, asset creation, everything. Like you can use AI to do basic natural language processing on your research inputs. Like the sky is the limit once you start understanding what you're really doing with all of the admin work around your experimentation in your CRO. So make sure that you understand the processes that you're doing and the tasks within those processes. If you have to figure out all this stuff, feel free, take the free courses, Automate to Win, understand what I'm talking about here. But within CRO, there's a bunch of processes, there's a bunch of tasks that you have. You're going to be able to automate those out. You're going to be able to use AI to go through and look at large data sets using natural language processing. You're going to use AI to do automatic personalization and A/B test creation. You're going to use AI to do things like create segmentation of your data through research. It's really unlimited once you realize what the AI can do. But don't forget to keep it human. Don't forget to keep what makes your company and what your agency is doing great. Like the connections that you have with your clients and the help that you're doing and the happiness that you cause for them by being the best version of a CRO and experimentation person, right? So don't jump into this and I'm going to automate everything. I'm going to get rid of all these things and I don't even need PMs or I don't need account managers anymore. Maybe not, but there's a human cost to all of that. So don't take away from this, hey, I'm just going to automate. I'm just going to build out systems that get rid of humans, because those humans are necessary. Those humans are needed for whatever systems that you have periphery to the things that they're involved in. So if I can leave you with anything, identify the problem systems that the people have, get rid of those problem systems and allow them to be creative, and you will win. If you have any questions, please hit me up. I hope you're enjoying your Experimentation Nation. Thanks for your time. automatetowin.com/AV testing system. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Keep automating. Keep winning. Have a great day. Be well.
This is Romo Santiago from Experiment Nation. Every week we share interviews with and conference sessions by our favorite conversion rate optimizers from around the world. So if you like this video, smash that like button and consider subscribing.